My parents, they didn't get that joke on the recording. Hi, my name is Hector, and I was born when I was very young. Thank you. Now it's recorded forever. Hi, Carlotta. Hi, Joanna. Nice to see you. So I was born in Argentina. My parents dragged us to Australia when I was 10, and I had my first huge cultural conflict where, and we all have them in one way or the other, where the world doesn't do what you want it to do. And then what do we do in that clash, right? Then I grew up a little bit in Australia and then did the Australian thing after finishing school, went backpacking, got addicted to backpacking, so I did it for 3 years. I bought a year around the world ticket because when I was very young, like a long time ago, you could buy a round the world ticket and it'd be cheaper than buying many tickets. So I bought 1 year's worth of 8 cities, but you had to go in the same direction. And it was so amazing that I did it again. And it was so amazing that I did it again. And in between, I just worked and minimized my expenses. Like I worked 5 jobs, part-time jobs, to earn a ton of money. And partly it was because I didn't think I was smart enough to go to university, because in Argentina, our parents were really poor. And so I'm dumb, I don't speak English, I can't learn things. And so it'd be embarrassing to go to university and fail. So I'd go backpacking. I tricked myself that I would get a real education. And I actually did. It was on the advice of an old man. Old man. Sorry, I'm making fun of someone's having trouble in the studio with really basic tasks, like putting flowers in a pot. Sorry, Megan. So all that to say that I thought I was running away, and then I still had an amazing experience. And in that travel, I stopped in New York a few times, and one of those times I bumped into Three Jewels, this place, 3 locations ago in 1996, where like more than half the room didn't exist even in thought, right? And so at that time, oh my God, hi Missy. At that time, I didn't know what I didn't know about the world and my relationship to it. And I met a bunch of Buddhists, monks and nuns, and they taught me a few things that I rejected, resisted, and it really helped me. So I sort of tail between my legs, kept coming back, but pretending it wasn't working, until it really shifted something for me. And then I became really curious about what are all these Buddhist practices, what are all these Buddhist thoughts. Not to be a Buddhist, I was pretty anti any organized anything. But I couldn't deny that the things they were teaching me about my own mind and my relationship to the world actually resolved a ton of conflicts that, I'd had a shrink as well, and the shrink could point them out, but there wasn't resolution for me. I don't know how other people deal with that. So anyway, all that to say, you've landed at Three Jewels. My name is Hector. I've been studying this for the last 25 years. I've had some success in the practice for me personally. I can't give you any of it. All I can do is share with you what I've learned, which is a pretty amazing formal 7-year course on the basics of Buddhist thought. And that's all we teach at Three Jewels. Now I'm the president of Three Jewels, bumping into it on opening night by mistake, and then practicing and pushing it back and seeing the benefits and finding community. And 20 something years later, I found myself in charge of trying to maintain a non-profit in the heart of New York City in the middle of a pandemic where the world is upside down. I realized today, you'll probably all realize this already, that things are pretty flipped. When you say positive, it's actually negative. A friend of mine said, I tested positive, and he's in quarantine in Australia. I'm like, that's a negative, isn't it? He's like, yeah, it's not good that I tested positive. But my kids are negative. I'm like, they shouldn't be so negative. No, no, they're positive. It's a good thing that they're negative. I'm like, oh, we're deconstructing everything. I like it. Yeah, and I'm joking. Like that did happen, but the play on our reality, where negative can be positive and positive can be negative, does something to the frames to the way we think the world should be. And that's something we can unravel and we can do on purpose. And then you have some kind of agency. I hope that was meaningful. I just blabbed. Rewind a bit. Every week I teach this class, which is the non-formal version of the 7-year curriculum. We also do meditation teacher trainings. We just started last week, which was amazing. And all of it is found on these basic principles that Buddhists grouped and discuss and wrote down and practice. And I want to highlight over and over, if you can hear this, please, it's not about being Buddhist. The Buddhists, like many other humans on the planet, figured out how to transcend the difficulties of a human condition. The sufferings, how do you get rid of them? The happinesses, how do you amplify them? But not be attached to them so they don't cause you future suffering. Right? Like there's something that we are able to do as creatures with awareness that these people we call Buddhists, and we have some ideas about what that must look like, right? Like I dress like this so you can all think I'm a Buddhist, but I don't dress like this all the time. I'm like, look, I'm a Buddhist. This isn't Buddhist, yeah? And the Instagram pictures aren't Buddhist. A real Buddhist, a real wake-upist, Buddhist, wake-upist, is someone who can wake up to the real causes of the things that hurt them and can stop them, and the real causes of the things that make them happy and don't make a negative addiction cycle about them, but can abide somewhere in the middle way, madhyamika, between thinking things have all this power to make me happy or unhappy, or nothing exists at all because the Buddhists are all trippy about emptiness. Yeah? So somewhere in between, because things are flexible and don't have a nature, they are empty of a nature. Oh, now I can do anything I want because nothing matters. Wrong. Oh, then things must have a nature and give me a certain experience. Wrong. Somewhere in the middle, madhyamika, middle way, is where you can wake up Buddha. Yeah. So for those of you who have been studying, you know this, I know, but I just want to keep reiterating it in a language that is accessible. And of course, you know there are texts upon texts of debates on this and that, right? But the text won't save you. Yeah. If nothing else, people that don't have the texts are lucky, because they don't have to think, oh, I'm a Buddhist, to wake up. Yeah. And I think last week we talked about, even the Buddha said, the dude whose example we follow and the teachings we practice, not because he's something special, but because what he said has alignment to reality. Yeah. He said, listen, all you Buddhists that are going to practice all these things and do all the chant things and all the blah, blah, blee, blee, and dress like that, at some point, you're going to have to let go of even the label Buddhist. You have to burn all the practices you think have some nature. You have to burn them before you get to the other side. Do you remember that from last week? Yeah, and I thought that was pretty amazing for what I used to think was the leader of a religion, the Buddha, right? After unraveling the teachings, it's something else altogether. He says, listen, don't be a Buddhist, especially at the end, because then you can't be Buddha, you can't wake up if you still think these teachings have some nature. I hope that makes sense. So every class I talk pretty openly about what these practices have been, at least for me, in practice for the last 25 years. And it's not been easy, right? I err on the side of joy on purpose. Yeah, it's a practice. There are terrible things that happened in my last 25 years. And in the face of that, I still err on the side of joy, happiness, wisdom, insight, compassion, to the best of my ability, because that will create a certain consequence in my reality. And I genuinely, initially not so much, initially you sort of pretend, you logically understand how the world functions, and you bring your mind to joy or wisdom or compassion where you don't feel compassion and joy and the rest. But initially you have to sort of toggle with the old habit of hurting others when they hurt you. At some point you have to decide, no, I'm in command. I will not create more hurt in this world. But someone's hurting me. Yep, so avoid the punch or run away or do something else, but at least don't create another cycle of hurt. And that's really difficult. Most people give up then. You know. So there's this art of pretending at the beginning where you imagine that I got this thing. I didn't want to say shit. So I got this shit. I didn't want to say shit. Now I said it 3 times. There's something in what we do with our minds that creates a consequence later in our mind. We pretend at first. It becomes contrived at the beginning, even though your impulses are like, I want to punch you in the face. Sorry, I'm looking at you. Yeah. I want to punch you in the face. Sorry. You said something that hurt me. I want to attack you. This is our instinct. And Buddha said, that's just going to create more attack. Stop it. Damn, that's hard. It's easy to say. It's logically understandable. Yeah, what creates a banana tree? I keep using the stupid banana. What creates a lemon tree? A lemon seed. It doesn't create an apple. It doesn't create a banana. It doesn't create an orange. Apple seeds, things of that flavor, create things of that flavor. What creates harm? Harm. At least in your perception, in your experience of a thing. And so it's pretty basic. It just grabs the idea of karma, consequence, cause and effect, and places it right where it actually exists, in the center of your consciousness. And then you've got something to work with for the rest of your life. How long? Until you stop harm for yourself. Until you can walk into what used to be a triggering situation, and you're like, I'm not triggered anymore. You still see the possibility of it. It gives you like insight, it gives you a vision. You're like, oh damn, I remember I could have punched her in the face, you know, in the past, but I don't have that impulse anymore. How do you get there? Practice. That's why it's called practice. What do you practice? Pretending, mostly. You know, like it's true. You pretend, you know. It's true. It's the art of pretending. Fake it till you make it, I think they used to say in the 80s. But with awareness, with wisdom, that in the faking it, you're resisting at least creating harm. And in that resistance, you're actually creating the causes for people and your world to resist giving you harm. Because cause and effect never fail. And there's innumerable quotes from Buddhas and practitioners for the last 2,500 years and detail on how to practice that. But you get the idea, right? You get it intellectually. Yeah. I wanted to talk tonight, even though I've already blabbed away for like half an hour, a question that arose a couple of weeks ago, and then another one that came last week, which was, okay, let's say I buy into this idea that what I do has consequences, and I want to be a wake-upist, and I want to meditate, and I want to do all these nice things. 2 things. Where to begin? Because it's like multifaceted, right? Do I begin with learning? Do I begin with meditation? Do I begin being compassionate? Do I have to wear the silly clothes? You know, do I have to look like a Buddhist? No, you know, like where to begin? And secondly, once I've began, what do I do with all the people around me who are triggering? The impulse is to push them away. And their question was detailed. It was like a long question. And they said, I know I have the impulse to push them away. Isn't that not compassionate? To run away from all the people that are triggering me. Is that? So they've already got the idea that they want to be compassionate. And then they're in conflict because I'm going to be compassionate. Sorry, I'm going to punch you in the face, right? So you hurt me, sorry. So my impulse is to hurt you back. Now that I'm practicing wanting to not do that anymore and stop that cycle, damn it, what do I do with you? You're still annoying. So it's his first time in the studio, and now it's just the people that are on that side get my right hand. Yeah. That guy. No, it's uncomfortable doing it over there.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. You were there last week. Yeah. Sorry. So what do I do with this being that's presenting as annoying? Yeah. And it's not, and you remember what I said at the beginning, it's not that they are not annoying for me. They are annoying for me. That's a truth. I was hurt with what you said or what you did. Yeah. Don't say sorry, you're supposed to be annoying. Yeah. But our minds, now that I want to practice wake-upism, I now have a conflict. Should I not be compassionate? And what does compassionate really mean? Do I let you hurt me? Is that compassionate? Right? And you've got to think about it. And we don't like thinking. We want, especially, like the more I live, please let it be long enough. We hold this tension all the time. Like, we don't know what's going on. I used to think adults knew what to do. They don't. They're guessing. If you haven't figured it out, become an adult. Most of the time, people are just guessing. They can't guarantee an outcome anywhere. They can err on a probability, but most people are guessing. When I was younger, I thought all the adults knew the answers. They don't. In fact, they get hardened into a particular view, and then you become old and grumpy or old and joyful, and yeah, sorry for all you old people, there's like two of you, yeah, and me. Stop it, Anna. Stop it, bird. Grow up. So people don't know. It's a guessing game. It's been a guessing game forever. But you know, we have this incredible tool, this consciousness of ours, this awareness. We can process things. We have more capacity than we give ourselves credit for, but we don't exercise that muscle of logic and reasoning. And Buddhism is all about logic and reasoning. It's nothing to do with faith. You got to believe me because Buddha said bullshit, the Buddhists say. Buddha said bullshit. I mean, he probably didn't say bullshit. He probably say cow shit. No. Whatever Buddha said. He's like, he actually said, don't believe me just because I say so, because if you do, then you're going to have to believe the next bastard that tells you anything. He said, test it by, what are the three tests? Cutting it? Rubbing it? No. And melting it. Yeah, the teachings I give you, cut it, rub it, melt it like you would gold to test. Is this true? And that means against your own experience and logic and practice, right? Did I miss anything? She's an expert Buddhist teacher. So what do we do with difficult situations and difficult people? And so there's this course going on Thursday nights with Earl and Sarah from this book called The Bodhisattva Charyavatara, The Guide to the Bloody Do-Gooder's Way of Life. Yeah. That's a translation. And I got you some quotes, because the first instinct when we get, I want to practice kindness, but maybe you don't deserve kindness. But Buddha said, don't harm with harm, so be kind. What's kindness in the face of harm? That's one of the most difficult situations. So before I give you the answer, I want to tell you the mental emotion that arises in me initially, and that is feeling discouraged. Like I feel I can't do anything with this dilemma. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe it's too much. Maybe I don't have the capacity or something. Have you ever had that feeling where you're like, I think I've got everything worked out, and then something happens and you find yourself in a catch-22 and you get discouraged? Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you can't get enlightened. Maybe you can't be compassionate. Maybe you can't see through logic. I want you to feel that, because that'll be the biggest obstacle. then we can take some action. But recognize that maybe we have this tension. If we don't react, right, because we've began to pretend, oh, I'm supposed to like you, but you're so annoying. So I'm not going to react, but you're fuming inside, right? For the yogis, the winds are moving. Prana's like, and you're like holding your arms together, smiling. I'm a good Buddhist. And inside you're raging, yeah? And then if you hold that in for a while, you're probably self-deprecating. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. And I've really felt that for real many times. And then there's this passage from that book, and I thought I'd read it to you. This was written 700 AD by Master Shantideva in India at the time. He says, never allow yourself the feeling of being discouraged, of having the thought, how could I become enlightened? About this, those gone thus, meaning all those Buddhas, all those people that have freed themselves, reached nirvana or enlightenment, the ones who speak truth, meaning they can address reality as it is, they have spoken the following words. Those beings who are flies and gnats or bees, and even those who live as worms as well, can reach unmatched enlightenment, so difficult to reach, if they develop the force of effort. If they themselves can make effort, they can get free from suffering. They can reach enlightenment. Someone like me, someone born as a member of humankind, can tell, old eyes, humankind can tell what helps or hurts, assuming then that I never give up the wish to wake up and the wisdom that follows it. He says the Bodhisattva's way of life. Why shouldn't I reach enlightenment? Why couldn't I habituate this body and this mind of mine? I've got all this capacity. Like, you can sit and meditate. You can contemplate what the best thing is to do. You can avoid hurting. If Buddha said worms and gnats can get enlightened, if those minds can reach freedom, why couldn't you? And this is where I think study is really important, because that can be read and go, oh, thank you very much, someone read me a nice passage from the Buddhist Bible. You know, I mean, really, I'd be thinking that. I'm that way. And I think if Buddha was here, if the being who woke up was here, they'd go, good on you, mate, if they were Australian, right? You should test it. You should cut it, melt it, rub it, scratch it, something like gold. Test it against your experience. But learn the philosophy that will speed you forward into having realizations. And so I keep harping week after week about this idea of karma and emptiness, meaning things don't have a nature from their own side. How do I know that? Because 2, 3, 4, 5 people can have different opinions about his actions, whether they are harmful or not. Does it mean they're harmful? They are to me. So they are harmful for me. But they're not harmful for someone laughing at what he did to me. Why? Again, 2 talks ago, I'm talking about the narrative, the story we all live in. All of us are living our own narratives and stories, and we're projecting them onto everything, which are just blank screens, empty of a nature. He said that word that offended me. Let's find offending in that word. You can't find it. You'll come up empty. And when you do, if you have insight, you'll realize, damn, it's my narrative connected to that whole thing that created the whole heat and the prana moving that I wanted to punch him in the face. If I want to stop that, don't punch him in the face. If you want to slow it right down, recognize that it's somewhere in your mind, in your narrative, having caused that reaction. Because that is not coming from that act. The reaction isn't forced out of this act. If it was, everybody that saw that act must react the same way. It's so simple, we miss it. That's the essence of Buddha's thought. if you buy into that, if you buy into the idea that you have way more power than you think, even though we are forever running and living the narratives that have been put in our heads a long time ago, if you buy into that, you all of a sudden have a chance to transcend the suffering of the human condition. And you have a chance, because it's all of a sudden your awareness is in the narrative building machinery rather than being lost in the narrative as it manifests. All of a sudden you've gone to the code of the matrix. Then you can begin coding, and that's where practice comes in. You're like, what happens if I don't scream back? What if I don't do that for a week? What if I don't do that for 2 weeks? Damn it, he's still annoying me. What if I don't do that for 5 weeks? Stop annoying me. Over time, and in the same text, Bodhisattva Charavatarava, Master Shantideva, he says, your minds are like plastic. They're moldable. You will, over time, just by holding back or pretending, he gives you all these techniques, you will, at some point, just not be annoyed anymore. And it might even appear like he changed. Oh, he stopped annoying me. But he didn't change. He's him. Stop being annoying. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to make you like the sweetest, the most amazing person. Okay? That's the benefit of being the annoying example. Yeah. Now I've got to figure out how to do that. Hold on. So if you practice the art of pretending, yeah, because you have wisdom that understands things don't have a nature, the nature they have has something to do with the new narrative I'm writing. Yeah, I can make excuses for him. I shouldn't let him harm me. Why? Because then my narrative includes an awareness that I let someone create harm. And that will have consequences. If I let people harm, then I am complicit in creating harm in the world. So it's like this fine line. Remember when I was saying adults don't know what they're talking about, right? We live in this world where like, please, someone tell me what to do. And then when they do, you're like, don't tell me what to do. And then we're confused and we're like, please, someone show me how I should act. Don't tell me what to do. And so we're in conflict all the time. It's the inner narratives in relation to what we do or don't do that create the causes for how we experience the next moment. And there's a time delay, and that's annoying. Just like there's a time delay when you plant a lemon seed. You can't have lemons next week. Sorry. You don't complain when that happens. But you complain when I was nice to him twice and he's still annoying. We do that all the time, right? How many times do you tolerate your roommates, partners for not doing the dishes? And you're like, I'll leave them there. I'll be nice. I'm a good practitioner. I'm a Buddhist. But in your mind, you're not. You're like, are they going to do the dishes now? You know, most of those dishes are not mine. Am I projecting, or is that a thing? It's a thing? Yeah, good, okay. Probably telling too many stories about Stephen. He does the dishes every now and then. Never does the toilet though. I hope he's listening. Is what I'm saying resonating to something? Yeah? So question one, what to do with difficult people? Stop being difficult, right? It's interrupt the cycle that when you get harmed, you have to harm. You don't have to. You don't have to put up with harm either, right? And Master Shantideva says, listen, you can do 1,000 things. Get out of the way. If it's not too harmful, act. He says, act like a bump on a log. What the hell is that, you know? And then he'll be like, you're a stupid idiot, Hector. I don't like your Buddhist mala or whatever. And I'm like, bump on a log, right? They're all pretend techniques, right? Like Band-Aids. But it will buy you time. Because at least you're planting the seed of I'm not harming back. And you're planting that in the right field of your mind, which creates the narratives with which you push through life all the time. After doing that for a while and getting it to work once or twice, the annoying person will become neutral for you. if you keep practicing, I forgot your name.
Oh.
Tal is so annoying, right? After you practice with Tal being so annoying, and you actually get some space to breathe, and that's why meditation is good, because you run a simulation of this practice in meditation, so it builds up your mental capacity to do it in person, right? That's one of the benefits of meditating. So after Tal keeps being annoying, because Tal's just running his narrative in the world, by the way, it's probably not personal to Hector. His narrative is Tal's narrative, nothing to do with me. But I got offended. Yeah? And he's just being him. Stop being annoying, Tal. But after you rebuild your narrative in relation to Tal's and all the other Tal's you'll meet in the world, and you get some result, at least a gap of annoyance, like, oh, he did his thing and today I didn't get upset. When you get that, it's a big awakening. It's a big, because the implication is amazing, and we have a fast mind. If that happens with Tal, it can happen with Supriya, it can happen with Robert, it can happen, oh my God, the power is mine. So you only need like 1 or 2 successes before you realize you're driving you didn't think you were. And then that happens if you keep practicing, because you get excited and energized. You're like, oh my God, this might work. And you keep working with Tal, you will eventually see that your reaction, your response, your deliberate response to Tal rewrites your narratives in relation to Tal's. And next time, at some point, you might transcend from annoying to I have a gap, he's sort of neutral, to wow, his narrative might be hurting him too, to compassion, to friendship, to how would I ever have come to these realizations without Tal? Oh my God, he's a teacher. What kind of blessing is it to meet a Tal? To having this kind of unconditional love for another human being who's unraveling their own narratives and has helped you unravel yours. And that can happen in 3 to 6 months. And I can tell you that from practice. But not practice because the teacher said it. Practice because you study it. Practice because you meditate on it. Practice because you contemplate on it. And me telling you this story that sort of moves me to tears isn't going to help you. You have to practice it. And I wish there was an easy way. You have to go find your annoying Tal, and turn him into your teacher. And what you're doing is you're uncovering your limits, your narratives. Because you can't control his. If you could, then the world would be easy. Yeah? You can't. Your mum can't even control your narratives. Right, Lindsay? So I invite you to think it, right? If gnats can get that stunning enlightenment in their minds, if worms and gnats, if any creature with a sentient awareness can do that, why not you? Why don't you deserve it? If you're capable of it. And you're capable of so many other things, right? But you're dead soon. So what are you going to use your capability for? That's the big thing that woke me up. I'm like, out of all the 1,000 things I could be all sorts of things. But I think the thing I want to do is be master of this mind of mine. And that will take you down a rabbit hole of effort and work and joy and troubles. But at the end of the day, nothing else is more rewarding than having a brand new frame of reference about who you are and what this world could be. And where you saw harm, you will meet teachers. And where you saw hatred, you will meet love. Not possessive love, not the attachment love. Like an unconditional love. Like imagine the results of this practice. The promise is, you practice this enough with enough towels that your heart just opens up for any person. And you walk out the street, and we live in New York City, and there's some difficult people to love as soon as you open the door. But according to these practices, because of the fact that things don't have a nature, emptiness, right, the idea of emptiness, then every living, moving thing out there you call a homeless person or a successful CEO or the taxi driver or all the towels you'll ever meet, they're all infinite potentials to have projected upon them whatever narrative you've been practicing or habituating. And if you've mastered your capacity to habituate love, wisdom, compassion, insight, you could walk out there and instead of homeless, you will see a teacher. And instead of rejection, you might see connection. It's a mighty promise. I know it's like it's biblical in proportion. It really is. What else do you do with a life? I mean, personally, the other things are going to still happen to you. You're still going to go to work, live in a house, hopefully, have a bed, not do the dishes. Sorry to look at you. Or do the dishes. But all those things are still going to happen. You will meet towels. But the choice of what story you're writing are all yours. All yours. That's a meaningful life for me. It doesn't make it easy. But oh my God. I mean, the thing that got me obsessed with trying harder in these practices was meeting a Tao. His name was Gary. Oh God, he was annoying. Yeah. And I did these practices with Gary, and I saw him as more than just an annoying person. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is this possible? All I did was keep my mouth shut, act like a log, a bump on a log, or get out of the way when they're harming me. But try to think compassionately about their narrative for them so I could change mine. And so they were helping me change mine. Yeah.
How long does it take you?
It took me just over 3 months. The question was how long, and if you'd like a detailed description of it, TEDx Bushwick, 2015 or something. I did a TED talk on it, but it's coded. I didn't want people to know that, but you'll hear me meeting. It's called How to Get Rid of the Angry Boss. Yeah, and it really was a pivotal point. And I hated this guy more than I disliked anyone else on the planet. It was early days of Buddhism for me. It was 97, 98. So within a year or two of walking into Three Jewels, I sat in classes like this, I listened to the blah blah, my mind was judging and annoyed and like, look at the guy, blah blah blah, pretending he's a monk, whatever. But something must have got in, something must have turned on. And then it wasn't until I was desperate, when things with Gary, my business partner at the time, got really terrible and I had no refuge, did I end up going up to the teacher and go, listen, okay, I heard you all the blah blah. What do I do? And he basically said, just what I've been saying at every lecture, every time you've come to, and I just do these 4 things. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I don't know, I have this quality that I'm fortunate. If I do and commit to something, I don't want any errors. I don't know where that comes from. I get obsessed, so nobody can say it was my fault, I guess. It was avoiding blame. So I'm like, I'm going to do that practice perfectly. And if it fails, it's his fault, the monks. So, now Gary can still be annoying, but now at least it's the monk's fault. But damn, it worked. Like I did it diligently. Essentially, He was just a yelling angry boss. And the advice was, where does all the offensiveness from yelling come from? It must be your mind connecting to that. The guy was really yelling, and it was really quite horrible. But I didn't have to react in the way that I was reacting. He's like, just try it. If you've got no other ways to try, just try not yelling back. And if you can, see if you can be compassionate towards them. I'm like, I'll never be compassionate. Gary's an asshole. And then I tried, and then, it took a month and a half or something from me yelling to me feeling I'm about to yell and not doing it. That was a powerful moment. You're like, but you're He's like, come on, Hector, say it. I'm like, no. Bump on the log, bump on the log. In my mind, I was like, but my mouth wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to plant that seed in my mind to create a narrative. And then after that, I'm like, oh, I can shut my mouth. I just don't have to move the mouth. But the feeling was bubbling. And then eventually, the feeling stopped. He would still yell, and I'd be like, okay. And eventually, some moment happened, and that defining moment is the reason I'm here. I would like other people to experience that if they can create that moment for themselves. Whatever your annoying thing, doesn't matter. You're not special. Every creature on the planet has an annoying thing. You have the power to change it. 19 past. I brought something else from that text that I was just reading, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. So for those of you who have studied the Bodhisattva Charyavatara and maybe have taken vows, some of you have taken vows to try and live like a wake-upist. Some of you have taken vows, promises to say, I'll try and keep my mind with this wisdom and the wish to liberate people from their narratives within my means. I'll try. So for those people, I want to read this quote from that same book. It's about your power to build joyful effort, to enjoy the practice of unraveling your harmful narratives. I think this is a quote, and my eyes are really bad, so I'll make mistakes. The armies used for achieving the goals of living kind are will, as in strong will, steadfastness, joy, and finally leaving off. And then he goes on to say, this is how you're really going to liberate your mind. Will, steadfastness, joy, and leaving off. And then in the commentaries that describe what the hell does that mean, he's like, as you're practicing, willpower is like this desire, this drive. With my understanding of how reality actually functions, karma and things being empty, therefore what I do has consequences. What I do with my mind has consequences. Why? Because things are forever changeable. They don't have a stable way of being. They are the way my narrative dictates. With that understanding, I'll have a drive to transform Tals into angels, Tals into teachers, Tals into the people that teach me how to wake up. I'll do that. I'll drive myself. I'll work towards that single pointedness, and that's the steadfastness. Never leaving off that continuous. I'll keep trying. Steadfastness, because you understand the logic. I can transform annoying Tals to blissful teacher Tals who liberate me. Because if Tal had a nature, everyone would be annoyed, and not everyone was annoyed. Therefore, the annoyance must be mine. I can change my annoyance. Willpower. How? Don't be annoying. Better still, be kind. Then you will experience everyone reflecting kind. Better still, be compassionate. Then Tals become compassionate. Better still, be completely wise. Then Tal becomes a teacher. Steadfastness, like don't stop, right? and delight in doing it. Enjoy get nerdy about it and go, oh my God, I'm actually working with real clay over here. This is fun. Imagine all the goodness I can do. Really, it's like extraordinary. If I could do this, my sister doesn't have to go through garbage like this. Yeah. Oh my God, I got rid of one towel. 6,999,099 to go. Or whatever that number is. I can do it if Nats can do it. And then this last force, I say to you who work really hard in your practice, and I've seen you, yeah, you work your asses off to try and battle the reality that we're forced to experience. I see you. Yeah, especially if you're volunteering at Three Jewels, or if you're a mom of a 14-year-old and are really serving people, or a dad of, is she 3 now or not? Yeah, of a 3-year-old. Or you're not a mum or a dad and you've got all these people around you. Sorry, or mum and dad of like 27-year-olds. That was a joke. They're probably younger, right? Happy birthday, Lily. Calling you out. The last force was leaving off. Remember that? Leaving off, what the hell does that mean? And that means when it's time, chill, like relax, take a break. Don't break your mind that you need to practice. Go on a vacation, take a bath, cover yourself in oil. What does Stephen do? What oil is? Sesame oil. Yeah, weird. Make your boyfriend go on a rowing trip to the big hole in the ground.
The biggest hole.
The biggest hole in the ground, the grand hole on the ground. Like, it's okay to stop forcing things. You know, like you work. Okay, chill. Let the effects seep in. Otherwise you break. You can't break. You got this life. So run the marathon, don't run the 100-meter race. Get your practice. How much can you do? Enjoy doing it. Do it steadfastly. And go change all the towels into angels. They were never not angels in the first place. The most annoying people were not annoying from their own side. They're in relation to your narrative. They were never fixed. And if you don't believe me, remember the 3 boyfriends ago. You loved them so much. And then you didn't. And what's your story in your mind say about them? You can even transform those memories. You can transform what transpired in your history. For real. We do that anyway. Tomorrow I get to give a chat in Mexico, and they asked me to talk about meditation and depression. And I'll give you the shortcut of those. If you're going to the Mexico talk, don't tell them. The more I think about it, the more I say hooray to depression. I think I told you all from meditation teacher training. Hooray for depression. It proves a powerful point in your mind. You know when you get really dark and depressed and you look back at your history and you're like, oh, it was all terrible. Oh my God, they did this to me and that was terrible and this was terrible. Everything just looks horrible. It wasn't horrible. Not everything was horrible, but depression will have you believe so. This current state of mind will reshape, recolor the entire history that you own and make it that. You know what I'm talking about, right? That's awesome. Because if your mind can do that for negativity, it can do that for positivity. And when you do get enlightened, when you do make Tal into an angel, a teacher, a special person that helped you wake up, you can look back at all your ex-boyfriends and go, you helped me wake up too. You can look back at all your history with this expansive, awakened mind and look back and go, it was all perfect. Even the 3rd ex-boyfriend. You're like, wow, thank you. Because the current state of mind is what frames the way we look at anything, including our past. including the optimism of our future. There is hope. And I think the biggest thing we need during and after the pandemic is the realization that it's a hope founded on wisdom. Of course you can change. Of course you can have joy. And I'm going to leave in the last minute with this. You will have difficult situations. You will have difficult encounters. Don't be knocked over because there's more coming. Okay, don't be like, oh no, not another towel. Can you find joy in the work with towels? Sorry. And the thing that came up to my mind, how do I tell them that? The first thing that came into my mind was 3 years ago, my mum passed away. Within 90 days, she got a diagnosis, she had cancer. I flew over, done, finished, bye. And the gradual deterioration of her everything, I had to live with her through. And it sounds heart-wrenching, and sorry if it's triggering. It's going to happen to every mum. Yeah? And so, thank goodness for Gary, who woke me up so I could practice. And because I had such limited time with mum, I didn't let the negative narrative sit there and go, oh mum, I'm so sorry, let's both be depressed together. It's I mined for every goodness that she wanted to share. I mined for every moment that we could turn on and she knew what I was doing and I knew what she was doing. We have discussed these practices before. And we were we might have another 5 days. We might have another 3 days. And it wasn't terrible. The situation was the situation, but we mined it for every bloody awesomeness we could have together, and everything became pregnant with possibility. Everything. Even her bad cancer breath was I don't know how many times I'm going to get that on my face. I want more of it. Even the embarrassment of, don't wipe my bum, you're my son. I'm like, come on, mum, how many times do I get to touch your bum? And we'd giggle and we'd through the disgustingness of that condition. What else should we do? So there's hope. I know it's not a very uplifting finish, but I hope I drove the point home. Because we don't have time to play with ignorance. You can do all the same things with bliss. And with that, that's the Hector show. No. Sorry. I really like just sharing this so I don't have to quote bloody books and notes. I've done that for too long. I hope that reached you in some corner of your mind, and if it did, I hope you use it, and use it before you lose it, right? Because normal will come. Normal meaning your old narratives will come. I really appreciate your time. I'm grateful that we get to speak meaningful things, and if you're in meditation teacher training, we don't get to go this deep in meditation, so I hope it helps now understand the karma and emptiness and why meditation makes a difference, because with meditation we can simulate all these ideas with focus, which makes the result faster. Yeah. So anyway, you're at 3 Joules. We're a non-profit. If you would like to donate, please, we need the donations. Yeah. If you would like to volunteer, talk to Diego. He runs a volunteer program. If you don't want to do any of those things, that's cool too. The biggest service you could do is practice these bloody things for yourself. I hope you meet towels, and I hope they become angels. Good night, everyone. Bye, bye, bye. Now we're going to go talk to Tal for real. See if he really is annoying. Yeah. Good night, everyone. No one's going to ever sit on that diagonal ever again. Okay. Bye. I think that's it. If you have questions, there is the QR code. Go ahead and QR code that, and you can shoot questions, and I'll use it as a topic for next week, or the week after. Anthony, thanks for being here. Oh my God, Kia, it's so nice to see you. I didn't see you before. So good night. Carlota, I miss you. Hug me. Love you. Russian. See you on Friday. Bye, Renata. And I hope I didn't confuse the Russian. Bye, everyone.